I am your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace and welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. We are back with another cultural night. Tonight, we will enjoy a reading from Fredrick Douglass titled, What to the Slave is the 4th of July, written in the Liberator newspaper on September 22nd, 1848. Again, this is Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. And I am your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba. And this is our Cultural Variety Podcast Show. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome. It's not too often that you get our Cultural Studies night in the same week. One is because we have alternate nights, but we just did this Monday. So if you want to check out our last episode a few days ago, it's out there. You can check that out on YouTube. You also can go on our public page on Facebook under Coffee Talk Podcast with Mashuma if you want to check out last week's episode. And we're giving you Cultural Studies night tonight, which is Sunday. So we have Cultural Studies night twice in 1 week tonight. So I'm definitely happy about that. I know y'all's happy. Again, we like to appear every Sunday and Monday to give you Cultural Studies night. Now, I know some of you may want this or want that, but when it comes to our cultural, it's a very broad culture, of course. We are the original people of the planet, so we give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If you don't get it this week, you get it next week. But what I would encourage you to do is just stay in tune, continue to get educated, and continue to get the flavor. All right. So with July 4th in the background now, 3 days back, today's July 7th, I wanted to end or begin with the story that was written by Fredrick Douglass. Again, he wrote this in the black newspaper, The Liberator, and he did this on September 22nd, 1848. So one of the reasons why I wanted to jump into this and get his reaction and his feeling and his story is because so many people want to argue back and forth with conscious people about, oh man, y'all don't celebrate the 4th of July. Man, y'all crazy. Y'all used to celebrate it when y'all was kids, but we can't celebrate it now. We can't have fun. Family can't get together. Nobody's saying family can't get together. Nobody's saying that it shouldn't be happy times for your family. But that's different than just celebrating the 4th of July. You know what I'm talking about in this country. So we're definitely going to dive right into Fredrick Douglass's What to the Slave is the 4th of July. It's a great reading. A lot of people had it read to them. They've heard it on audio, and it's coming from Fredrick Douglass, no doubt. Now, if this is your first time tuning into the show, Coffee Talk Podcast, we never start a show without giving you the flavor. Thus, you see the blueberries on the screen right there, the blueberry smoothie. Oh, that sounds delicious. You know what I'm talking about? Nice blueberry smoothie on a muggy day like today in the Twin Cities. Today's temperature is 81 degrees. It's beautiful out. Our lakes are shining. You know, we the home of the 10,000 lakes. Beautiful feet are out there, beautiful women in sundresses, businessmen, professional people out there. And it's just beautiful, man. The Twin Cities is beautiful this time of year. So I definitely want to give a shout out to the Twin Cities. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So again, let's go ahead and jump right into the flavor. And we're going to give you the wise words. And we're going to jump right into the story of the night. All right. And thank you for tuning in tonight. We do have the chat open, so you definitely can say what's up, peace, salam, greetings, good evening, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Whatever makes you feel comfortable in the communication. Go ahead and say what's happening, what's up. We go ahead and give you a shout out here at Coffee Talk Podcast, no doubt. All right, so today's flavor, wherever you are, today's flavor for today, July 7th, 2024, is the blueberry smoothie with almond milk. That's right. Why? Why would you want a blueberry smoothie with almond milk? I just told you why. Because it's humid today. You know what I'm saying? Get that blueberry smoothie mixed up with some nice ice, cold. You know what I'm saying? You could be at the beach chilling, doing your thing. You know what I mean? So tonight's flavor is the blueberry smoothie almond milk. Now, I want to give you the ingredients, because if you're at home and you're still trying to go outside and catch the sun as it's getting ready to set on this beautiful evening, I would say this with the smoothie. Grab you some frozen blueberry, grab some frozen bananas, get you some old-fashioned oats, grab you some almond milk, and grab you some almond butter. Blend that all together, and then you will have your blueberry smoothie with almond milk. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I know you said, damn, you went fast. So I will repeat it again. Tonight's flavor is the blueberry smoothie. And if you want to make you a smoothie with almond milk, you can some frozen blueberries, some frozen bananas, some almond milk, some almond butter, and some old-fashioned oats. Why do you want to have this on a muggy day, a nice day? Well, because the benefits of having that blueberry smoothie is that it provides protein, and it also adds antioxidants. So there you have it. That is the flavor of the day here at Coffee Talk Podcast. And I don't know if you're paying attention to my background. Some of you might be listening to me audio. Another might be watching me on your TV or your cell phone or whatever, or on Facebook or whatever. You might be able to see my backdrop. Well, the backdrop that we're representing today is the coffee shop. So yeah, we're in the coffee shop right now. You know what I'm talking about? We're in the Coffee Talk Podcast coffee shop. And this is where we're going to be giving you that flavor tonight. So come on in. Come on in. You know what I mean? And when you're here, kick your feet up. Enjoy yourself. And whatever you're sipping on, whether that be that blueberry smoothie, a coffee, a latte, some wine, some beer, whatever it is, man, just make sure that you are enjoying yourself here at Coffee Talk Podcast. All right, next up is the wise words. And the wise words comes from a man that was born on January 17th, 1942, out of Louisville, Kentucky. He went to the Essence on June 3rd, 2016. He won a gold medal. That's right. I wanted to add that because it is getting close to the Olympics of 2024. So in 1960, this particular gentleman won a gold medal. He's a gold medalist from the 1960 Rome Olympiad, and he was a boxer. He won his gold medal as a light heavyweight. He went on to have a wonderful career where he had 61 fights overall. 56 of those were wins, 5 losses. And out of those 56 wins, he put a man on the pavement 37 times. He knocked out somebody 37 times. And he's only been dropped once. You know what I mean? A lot of people refer to him as the greatest of all time. His name is Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali's wise words is this: true success is reaching our potential without compromising our values. So I'm going to say that again. Tonight's wise words by Muhammad Ali is: true success is reaching our potential without compromising our values. Those are the wise words of Muhammad Ali. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our show tonight. Tonight, as we end this 4th of July weekend, for those that celebrate and those that don't, you know, you might have just got together anyway, attended some barbecues or whatnot. But as we end this 4th of July weekend, we're going to read What to the Slave is the 4th of July by Frederick Douglass. This was written in the Liberator, September 22nd, 1848. Let's dive on in, shall we? Fellow citizens, pardon me and allow me to ask why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I or those I represent to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us? Would to God, both for your sakes and ours, that an affirmative answer could be truthfully returned to these questions. Then would my task be light and my burden easy and delightful. For who is there so cold that a nation's sympathy could not warm him? Who so obdurate and dead to the claims of gratitude that would not thankfully acknowledge such priceless benefits? Who so stoic and selfish that would not give his voice to swell the hallelujahs of the nation's jubilee? When the chains of servitude had been torn from his limbs, I am not that man. In a case like that, the dumb might eloquently speak, and the lame man leap like a hare. But such is not the state of the case. I say it with the sad sense of disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, independence, breathed by your fathers, is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in feathers into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you joyous anthems where inhumane mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? If so, there is a parallel to conduct. And let me warn you that it is dangerous to copy the example of a nation whose crimes, towering up to heaven, were thrown down by the breath of the Almighty. Bearing that nation is irrecoverable ruin. I can today take up the lament of a pilled and woe-smitten people. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yes, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst of thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required for us a song, and they who wasted us required of us mirth, saying, "Sing us one of those songs of Zion." How can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let me right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I have the mournful wail of millions whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilant shouts that reached him. If I do forget, if I do not remember those bleeding children of sorrow this day, may my right hand forget her cunning, and may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular themes would be treason, most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world. My subject then, fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from the slave's point of view. Standing here identified with the American bondman, making his wrongs mine. I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked blacker to me than on the 4th of July. Whether we turn to the declarations of the past or to the professions of the present, the conduct of this nation seems equally hideous and revolting. America is false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to be false to the future. Standing with God and the crushed and bleeding slave of this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity, which is outraged in the name of liberty, which is feathered in the name of Constitution and the Bible, which are disregarded, and trampled upon, dare call it to question and to denounce with all the emphasis I can command everything that serves to perpetuate slavery. The great sin and shame of America, I will not equivalate. I will not excuse. I will use the severest language I can command, and yet not one word shall escape me that any man whose judgment is not blinded by prejudice or who is not at heart a slaveholder shall not confess to be right and just. But I fancy I hear some of my audience say it is just in this circumstance that you and your brother abolitionists fail to make a favorable expression on the public mind. Would you argue more and denounce less? Would you persuade more and revoke less? Your cause would be much more likely to succeed. But I submit where all is pain, there is nothing to be argued. What point in the anti-slavery creed would you have me argue? On what branch of the subject do the people of this country need light? Must I undertake to prove that the slave is a man? That point is conceded already. Nobody doubts it. The slaveholders themselves acknowledge it in the enactment of laws for their governments. They acknowledge it when they punish disobedience on the part of the slave. There are 72 crimes in the state of Virginia, which, if committed by a black man, no matter how ignorant he be, subject him to the punishment of death, while only 2 of these same crimes will subject a white man to like punishment. What is this but the acknowledgement that the slave is a moral and intellectual and responsible being? The manhood of the slave is conceded. It is admitted in the fact that Southern statute books are covered with enactments forbidding under severe fines and penalties the teaching of the slave to read and write. I'm going to say that one more time, y'all. Listen. What is this but the acknowledgement that the slave is a moral, intellectual, and responsible being? The manhood of the slave is conceded. It is admitted in the fact that Southern statute books are covered with enactments forbidding under severe fines and penalties the teaching of a slave to read and write. When you can point to any such laws in reference to the beast of the fields, then I may consent to argue the manhood of the slave. When the dogs in your streets, when the fowls of the air, when the cattle on your hills, when the fish of the sea and the reptiles that crawl shall be unable to distinguish the slave from brute, then I will argue with you that the slave is a man. For the present, it is enough to affirm the equal manhood of the Negro race. It is not astonishing that while we are plowing, planting, reaping, using all kinds of mechanical tools, erecting houses, constructing bridges, building ships, working in metal of brass, iron, copper, silver, gold, that while we are reading, writing, and ciphering, acting as clerks, mechanics, secretaries, having among us lawyers, doctors, ministers, poets, authors, editors, orators, and teachers, that while we are engaged in all of the enterprises common to other men, digging gold in California, capturing the whale in the Pacific, feeding sheep and cattle on the hillside, living, moving, acting, thinking, planning, living in families as husband, wives, and children, and above all, confessing and worshiping the Christian God, and looking hopefully for life and immorality beyond the grave, we are called upon to prove that we are men. Would you have me argue that man is entitled to liberty? That he is the rightful owner of his own body? You have already declared it. Must I agree that the wrongfulness of slavery is that a question for the Republicans? It is to be settled by the rules of logic and argumentation as a matter beset with great difficulty, involving a doubtful application of the principle of justice, hard to understand. How should I look today in the presence of Americans, dividing and subdividing a discourse to show that men have a natural right to freedom, speaking of it relatively and positively, negatively and affirmatively? To do so would be to make myself ridiculous and to offer an insult to your understanding. There is not a man beneath the canopy of heaven who does not know that slavery is wrong for him. What am I to argue that is wrong? To make men brutes, to rob them of their liberty, to work them without wage, to keep them ignorant of their relations to their fellow men, to beat them with sticks, to flay their flesh with the lash, to load their limbs with irons, to haunt them with dogs, to sell their flesh, to starve them into obedience and submission to their masters? Must I argue that a system thus marked with blood and stained with pollution is wrong? No, I will not. I have better employment for my time and strength than such arguments would imply. What then remains to be argued is that slavery is not defined, that God did not establish it, that our doctors of divinity are mistaken. There is blasphemy in the thought. That which is inhumane cannot be divine. Who can reason on such a proposition? They that can may, I cannot. The time for such argument is past. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could I reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, weathering sarcasm and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The consciousness of the nation must be aroused. The property of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and its crimes against God, man, and man must be denounced. What to the American slave is the 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice, the cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty and unholy license, your national greatness, swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your denunciations and tyrants, brace-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equity, hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your sermons, thanksgiving, with all of your religious parade and solemnity are to him were bombast, fraud, deception, impidity, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation of the earth guilty of practice more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. Go where you may, search where you will, roam through all of the monarchs and despotisms of the old world. Travel through South America, search out every abuse. When you have found the last, lay your facts by the side of the everyday practices of this nation, and you will say with me that for revolting barbarity and shameless hypocrisy, America reigns without a rival. This is Frederick Douglass, and it ended on July 1852. So he actually wrote this July 4th, 1852, but it did not appear in the Liberator newspaper until September 22nd, 1848. Or my bad. It happened September 22nd, 1848. It did not appear in the Liberator till July of 1852. What to the slave is the 4th of July by Frederick Douglass. So when you start to go down what some people like to refer to as a rabbit hole, or you start to study our story and not his story, there should be no question when you come in contact with anybody that's conscious and they say they don't celebrate it no longer. You done lost a lot of good people to injustice. And we can't forget that. So when you ask me why I don't celebrate July 4th, or you ask any other conscious person why they don't celebrate, instead of being ready to criticize them for not following a holiday, hell day, that's the reason. And perhaps you should take up the courage to research, take up the courage to share our story amongst the youth so they can be more conscious into what they are celebrating and what they're not. Now, there's some haters around you at this hour that was saying, oh, that was so long ago. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You can't never let something go that you still suffer trauma from. The best way to heal is open dialogue. The best way to heal is an apology. The best way to heal is a beginning of reparations to some degree. And that's another story. So as we conclude, I would like to say thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. You can catch us every Sunday or Monday alternate night if you like topics, dialogues, stories, and poems like we've shared tonight, and affirmations, I should say. But if you want to just dive into the entertainment world or the sports world, check us out on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is our sports night, and we don't care about who won or lost an event. We like to talk about the different intricacies that goes on behind the scenes in the world of sports. Then, of course, we're right back every alternate Friday and Saturday where you can catch us with Grown Folk Social Hour. So, as I said earlier, I am your host, Mashuma Saba M. Saba, and I'm gonna hit you with that universal peace sign. And thank you for tuning into the show, Coffee Talk Podcast. Leave your comments in the comment box. Make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can get notifications and never miss our cultural variety show, one of the livest podcasts in the land. Come and get you some flavor. See you next time. Peace.